right, friends, so today I want to talk about this big old scary topic of failure. Have you ever failed, maybe in your life, in your business, in your relationships? And when that failure happens, how in the world do you handle it? What do? Do you give up? Do you keep going? Do you feel like a piece of crap? Do you find your way out of it so that ultimately you can live and be the best version of you? So that's what I want to talk about today. If we have not met, my name is Andy Smith, longtime entrepreneur, business builder, and been doing this for about 20 plus years. Started my first business in 2007, have acquired businesses, have exited businesses, and just love everything about the entrepreneurial ecosystem. And I believe there are two ways to change the world. And the backstory of this is about 30 years ago, I asked a mentor, how do we change the world? And he told me one person at a time. And as a young dude, that was for me like almost a letdown. I'm like, how do we change the world at scale? How do we do big things? How do we do it bigger than one person at a time? So now fast forward through multiple ventures, multiple fizzle outs, some really big, ugly failures. And here's how I would say we are able to change the world. One person at a time. How we make that other person feel. I think that's how we change this world. But I've also found in 20 years that we can also change the world at impact, at scale, through entrepreneurship. And that's why I do this. That's why I love entrepreneurship. I think entrepreneurship is the way that we can impact many at scale. We can do our small part to be the best versions of ourselves so that we can make the most impact in our life, in our journey, however short or long that is. So today I want to share with you a few lessons from my many failures, the many scabs that have turned into many scars, the lessons that have come from that, and how you might apply them on your journey in entrepreneurship. All right, so here we go. Let's dive in. The first big lesson is around goals versus systems. When we start a business, we oftentimes have a lot of dreams, a lot of aspirations, a lot of hope, a lot of optimism, and we need optimism. Optimism is part of my DNA. I love optimism. I think it's how we should go through life. I think it's how we should be the best versions of ourselves in entrepreneurship. But there's a level of optimism and system balance. So we've got to balance those dreams, those hopes, those aspirations with systems and processes. And the reason for that is because when things get hard, we've got to be able to look and rely upon the systems and processes that we put into our business. So I have done entrepreneurship the bootstrap method, the acquisition method, the pump and dump a bunch of cash into companies method. And I would say my current focus is taking a bootstrap mentality into whatever size business you are. You could be a $100 million company. Take a bootstrap mentality, take a startup mentality, and look to make sure that every action in your business relates to a agenda that gets the big purpose fulfilled. So what does that mean? Every dollar I spend allocates to an activity in my business that translates into the big purpose that we're trying to achieve. I think there's a big opportunity nowadays to go from a traditional org chart to a responsibility matrix so that each person aligns to an activity that it aligns to the purpose we're trying to achieve. That could be a 30, 60, 90-day plan. That could be a big old why that you reverse engineered out into a single task that gets done. That could be a system, a process, a tech innovation that you put in your business to accelerate that. Nowadays, people can rely on tech to do things faster, better, cheaper. It's just the reality that we face today. And so ask yourself at whatever stage you are in your business, am I relying on hopes, dreams, and aspirations, or am I relying on system and process? And if you're low on systems and process, start there. Okay, lesson number 2, ego versus wisdom. So when you have some success in your career, your job, your business, you can get a little over your skis, or at least I can, with I've conquered the world, whatever that means. And you start trusting your gut a little too much. You start taking a little bit outside your lane risk. You get a little arrogant, you get a little cocky, you get a little bit prideful maybe. And what failure will teach you in the bestest kind of ways is humility. So I call my failure chapters my great humbling, because it takes you back to where you were to find who you really are and to build back on the core principles that you've gone through. So if you've never gone through failure, you've never felt that pain, it's a real thing. Talk to any post-exited founder who will tell you, hey, and I'm in communities with thousands of them. One of the communities has 4,000 people. One is a multi-exited founder group, which has, I don't know, hundreds of people who all experience the same thing. That if you get over your skis, you get out of your lane, you lose who you really are and how you built that first success, whatever that success means to you, you're in the danger zone. You're running hot. And so it's time to find humility, to find who you really are, to start step by step building back. So find humility, let ego go. And there's a lot of noise on the internet, so prepare yourself. Ego's everywhere, and people trying to make money, whatever, but it's just no, humility is the win. Third lesson is around people. I think that when you surround yourself with people who complement your superpower. Now, what is your superpower? That's the thing that you do incredibly, incredibly well. That's the thing that you are just excellent at. I'm probably good at like 2 things, and the rest I'm just no good at. So I have to find the right people around me to support my blind spots and to protect me from making stupid decisions and to help me move faster and further. And so being a part of knowing my superpower is the second part of the third lesson here, which is getting the people around you who make you think bigger, who accelerate you, and who push you to limits that you never knew you could get past. That requires people, the right people. And when I've had failures, I've had the wrong people around. And when you get the wrong people around, you lose sight of what you're doing. Maybe you take some of their limits and put them on yourself, and it's the recipe for disaster. Fourth lesson, focus on your culture. Culture is not something that I think you can just go set out to do, but culture is what the collective group of people, how they feel collect and how they collaborate. And if you can build a great, outstanding culture, you win. And where does that culture start? Transparency and communication from all layers of the organization. So that the top is communicating with the bottom is communicating with the top, and everywhere in between knows what's happening. I call that aligning the golden thread. If you can get transparency, get everyone rowing in the right direction, your probability of failure diminishes if you've got a nasty culture of backstabbing, of propagandaing, of trying to get more money, more roles, blah, 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 all this stuff, right? Get the right culture, get the right people, get everyone rowing in the right direction, and you can turn that big old ship into a big old win versus a failure. The next thing I would say is your purpose. So we've talked about process, we've talked about people, and now the final thing is purpose. Purpose is, what are you chasing? What are you going after? If I'm chasing money, am I chasing the right thing? No, and I've had failures because of that. If I'm chasing something impactful with a big old why that you get people around and get people excited and you get people part of, you can get some pretty fun things happening. So just ask yourself, what are you chasing and why? That's the key thing. Establish your processes, your people, and your purpose. All right, friends, I'm going to leave it there today. If you haven't failed, it's probably coming at some point. If you have failed, it's almost like a congratulations, because the scabs lead to scars that turn into lessons that we can take with us into everything we're doing, everything we're building, so that we can continue on the mission and never give up on the mission to find and be the best versions of ourselves. And if we can do that at scale, we found entrepreneurship. Thanks, friends. Andy Smith. See you next time.